Millions of stolen Robux, thousands of hacked accounts, and chaos that swept across the largest gaming platform in the world. Roblox hackers still frighten players to this day. But who among them was a real threat? And who was just a system error? Right in front of you are 4 closed cards. Behind each one is a dark story that changed Roblox forever. And among these terrifying accounts, there is one that will truly surprise you. Because he was not who he seemed. And instead of causing destruction, he was secretly helping ordinary players. Let's find out who is hiding behind the first card. And it's Jane Doe. If you've been playing Roblox for a while, you know that name. It haunted the platform for years, whispered from dark corners of forums, flashed across YouTube video titles, and sent thousands of players into a panic, deleting their accounts. Jane Doe. 2 simple words and an entire storm of fear, legends, and madness surrounding them. But to truly understand this story, you need to go back in time to 2017. Imagine a platform that was only just beginning to find its footing. No hundreds of thousands of players online, just a few thousand in the most popular games. Most kids were still playing Minecraft, not yet realizing they were about to switch to something new. Roblox existed somewhere between a children's toy set and the Wild West. No strict rules, no moderation on every corner, no corporate policies anywhere. It was in this environment, raw, alive, and slightly chaotic, that legends grew especially fast, because there was nothing to stop them. And that's when the rumors started spreading. Nobody really knew who Jane Doe was. His account looked disturbingly simple. A standard yellow and blue avatar, like a brand new player who had just signed up. But the registration date went back to the very beginning of the platform's existence, to a time when there was almost nobody else there. Who is this? Why does he keep appearing online and then vanishing? Why does he never say anything? Questions multiplied, and fear grew right alongside them. But here's the most interesting part. Jane Doe was not alone. Right next to him there was always Jane Doe, an account with the same ancient registration date, the same profile page, and the same chilling silence, the same default skin. If Jane Doe was a mystery, then Jane Doe was a mystery twice over, because people talked about her significantly less, which meant there was far more room for speculation. In the legend, she played the role of an accomplice. If Jane was the brain of the operation, the one who planned, coordinated, and gave orders, then Jane was his shadow, the executor, the one who acted silently and invisibly while everyone was looking in the other direction. People said they operated together, synchronized their attacks, and logged on simultaneously to break into players' accounts. The name itself only added fuel to the fire. Jane Doe, just like Jane Doe, is a placeholder name that police use for unidentified people. Only if Jane is used for males, Jane is used for females. 2 nameless ghosts who had existed since the very birth of the platform. 2 faceless people with no history and no past. Doesn't that sound like the perfect hacker duo story? YouTubers actively exploited this image. In their videos, Jane Doe was portrayed as the more mysterious and even more dangerous of the 2. The silent partner who operates from the shadows, while Jane distracts everyone's attention. Some content creators claimed they had seen both accounts go online at the exact same time, right before someone's account was supposedly hacked. There was, of course, no evidence whatsoever. But who checks for evidence when the story is that good? In the fan community, an entire mythology grew up around Jane Doe. Some said she was more dangerous than Jane because she acted quietly and without warning. Jane at least occasionally surfaced in forum retellings, but Jane seemed to not exist at all, until it was already too late. Others invented theories that she was the one controlling the bots that sent threatening private messages. But there was an even more unsettling theory. A third group claimed they had seen her avatar standing right inside other players' games, just standing in a corner of the map. Not moving, not speaking, just watching. And if you walked up to her, she would disappear. And a few days later, your account would be gone. This image of a silent figure with the most basic avatar simply observing turned out to be incredibly terrifying. Far more terrifying than any threats or hacking attacks, because you can ignore a threat, but you cannot ignore silence. So much so that by the end of 2016, many players had started fearing Jane Doe almost more than Jane himself. Nobody knows exactly where it all started. Maybe with some small video with a few thousand views. Maybe with a forum post that someone randomly reshared. But the idea was too sticky to stop. March 18th, 2017. That was the day Jane Doe was supposed to return. He and his accomplice Jane were going to come back, hack everyone, ban accounts, and take over the platform. Where exactly that date came from, nobody knew. Some said they found it in the source code of an old game. Some said Jane himself had messaged them. Nobody actually knew the truth, but the date stuck like glue. Does that sound insane? Today, yes. But in 2017, when you were a 10-year-old player who knew practically nothing about how Roblox worked on the inside, that story could feel very real. especially when in every other video and on every forum, people with serious expressions were telling you it was all true, that you needed to be scared, that it was better not to take any chances. Videos about Doe and Jane Doe began appearing one after another, first from small channels with a couple thousand subscribers, then the big ones joined in. The story broke out of YouTube and reached news articles. People were writing, "Is it safe to play Roblox on March 18th?" and getting hundreds of comments in response, half of which were screaming, "No!" The panic grew with every passing day. Some players seriously deleted their accounts. They didn't want to take any risks. Others swore they would not log in that day under any circumstances whatsoever. Those who had already heard about Jane Doe were especially frightened, because it's one thing to be afraid of one hacker. It's something else entirely to know there are two of them, and that the second one never gives a warning. And scammers immediately jumped into that fear, as they always do whenever there's a crowd of scared people. Fake accounts appeared with names similar to Doe and Jane Doe, sending threatening messages to random players. And there were people using exploit scripts to create chaos in games and blame it all on the legendary duo. Every such incident only fanned the flames of the myth higher. And then March 18th, 2017 arrived. YouTubers were hosting overnight streams in anticipation of the end of the world. Chats were overflowing. Viewer counts climbed with every passing minute because nobody wanted to miss the moment everything collapsed. A few minutes before midnight, the same warnings kept appearing in the chats. "Ladies and gentlemen, 11:56 p.m. In a few minutes it will be March 18th, the day Doe and Jane Doe are supposed to hack all of our accounts. If you care about your progress, log out now." Some people actually did log out, just to be safe. Midnight came, and nothing happened. No hack, no banned accounts, no end of Roblox. John and Jane never showed up, at least not the way the legends had promised. Servers kept running, games kept launching, accounts stayed right where they were. But what actually did happen that day was absolutely remarkable, just not in the way anyone expected. Game developers decided not to let the moment go to waste. They updated their projects specifically for Doe Day, added his character directly into their games, changed icons to his face, designed everything to look as though the platform had actually been hacked. And that turned out to be far more entertaining than any real hack could ever be. And since Doe's avatar was completely free and available to everyone, just the standard beginner skin you could put on for 0 Robux, thousands of players dressed up as him and flooded the servers. The exact same thing happened with Jane Doe. Players in her image wandered through servers in complete silence. They deliberately occupied dark corners of maps and just stood there, perfectly still, exactly as described in the legend, intentionally building the very atmosphere that everyone had been afraid of. It was one of the strangest, most entertaining, and most unsettling days in the history of the platform, and it never happened again. 3 days after all that madness, on March 21st, 2017, Roblox did something extremely rare. They published an official blog post in which, for the very first time in all the years the legend had existed, they decided to address it directly. For many years, rumors about Doe and Jane Doe had circulated in the community. That year, Roblox decided to shed some light on these accounts. Both accounts had been created by David Baszucki and Eric Castle in the early days of Roblox for testing friend systems, messaging, and other features. They were technical accounts that did not belong to any specific player, which is why they were given standard placeholder names. Both accounts belonged to Roblox itself and posed no threat to anyone. It turned out to be devastatingly simple. Both accounts, John and Jane, were created on June 25, 2005, at the very beginning of the platform's history, as ordinary testing tools. No hacker, no duo plotting attacks from a dark room, just 2 technical accounts given placeholder names precisely because there was no real person behind them. They had been sleeping in the database for years, needed by no one, until one day someone noticed their profiles, ancient, empty, and silent, and decided that such simplicity must be hiding something sinister. No hacker duo, just 2 abandoned test accounts with names from a police report, and the entire mythology that thousands of people had built around them over the years. To put a definitive end to things, Roblox dressed both accounts in official corporate merchandise. Which is exactly why today, if you visit the page of either John or Jane Doe, you will see them head to toe in company-branded gear. After 2017, Roblox saw other hackers come and go. Around each of them, their own mythology managed to grow, their own theories and their own supposed evidence. But none of them ever managed to replicate what John and Jane Doe had done. Because those 2 appeared at exactly the right time, in exactly the right place. When the platform was young, the audience was inexperienced, and the internet still knew how to be genuinely afraid. Every year on March 18th, some players still log into Roblox, just to check, just to make sure everything is calm. Fan-made games about John and Jane Doe still appear on the platform to this day. Some Some turn them into horror experiences, others into simulators, and others into simple tributes to the legend. But while the whole world was watching John and Jane Doe in the dark corners of old Roblox, another myth had been quietly living for many years. One that no mass YouTube videos were made about and no news sites covered. But those who once stumbled across it could never simply move on and forget. The myth of a being that some called a ghost and others called a god. A cult believed that one day it would appear and destroy the entire world of Roblox. We move on to the second card, the player known as Noli. And right now we are going to dive into one of the oldest and most terrifying myths in all of Roblox. What you are about to hear may keep you up tonight. If you had wandered through the old corners of Roblox long enough, sooner or later you would have stumbled across that name. Noli. Whispered on forums, written in all capitals in player warnings, surrounded by theories, cults, and fear. Some called him a ghost, others called him a god. His cultists spoke of him as an inevitable end, a being who would one day appear and destroy the entire world of Roblox. But who is Noli really? To answer that question, you have to start from the very beginning. Those who claimed to have seen him described Noli in the same way, too consistently for you to simply brush it off. Completely black skin, a black tragic mask, and eyes, two sources of pure white light cutting through the darkness. But the most unsettling thing was not his appearance, it was what he left behind. Everywhere Noli passed, a black aura trailed after him like a mark left by something that had no place in this world. He wore a hat known as the Star of the Void, an extremely rare item which, according to legend, gave his cult its name. That hat, combined with the black, tragic mask, believers said, was what granted Noli his strange and terrifying powers. Among the roughly 50 accounts supposedly belonging to Noli, almost all were deleted. But one stood apart. It contained a game called Tempest, created on February 25, 2010. Last updated on May 6th of that same year. Silence ever since. Imagine finding it. You step inside and see a black temple rising up in the middle of a cloudy sky. No ground, no horizon, just gray clouds and this dark structure. Inside stands a character, a figure from the pantheon of the Void cult. Almost nothing is known about him, only that he has a single heir, and that a pickaxe lies beside him. But if you touch it, you will die instantly. And then a message appears on your screen. You have angered him. Nuli is displeased. Nuli will crush you. But the game does not end there. Hidden behind the temple is an invisible teleporter, a trap for curious players like you. It takes you to a cluster of floating islands surrounded by snow and pale pink trees. A gray NPC stands there. It does not attack. It simply warns you to leave. Why did Nuli not want you exploring those islands? What was hidden beyond that landscape? Nobody ever found out. And it is precisely that not knowing that feeds fear more powerfully than any answer ever could. The myth grew to a scale that perhaps no one had anticipated. A true Void cult formed around Noli, a community of players who believed in him not as a legend, but as a real being. Cultists described him as a god who would soon arrive to destroy the world of Roblox. And they claimed that the Void cult was the only salvation, the only faith that could protect you from that destruction. Every month on the 16th, cultists waited for his return. They logged into games and searched for signs, and of course they found them, or convinced themselves they had. Then, in 2019, everything reached a new level. A user posted a message on the Roblox forum about a strange discovery. An account with the name Noli. No avatar, no join date, no data at all. An empty profile that, when clicked, simply redirected you back to the Roblox homepage, as if the account did not exist. But it did exist. The internet exploded. Theories multiplied with every passing hour. This is confirmation. It is him, a godlike hacker of limitless power, so powerful that even the Roblox system cannot contain him. Over time, the Star of the Void became linked to the account, and the myth spiraled completely out of control. The cult only grew stronger. New players heard about it for the first time and were terrified. It was only much later that a former Roblox moderator finally provided an explanation. There was no god, no hacker, no destroyer. The Noli account was simply a glitch, the result of an incorrect indexing error that affected certain accounts, causing them to store no data other than their name. Noli happened to be one of those accounts, a broken line in a database, a technical error, nothing more. But by the time the truth came to light, the myth had long since taken on a life of its own, separate and independent, too large to simply extinguish with talk of a glitch. Today, Noli lives on in dozens of horror games on Roblox. Developers build levels recreated in his image, reconstruct the black temple in the clouds, hide invisible teleporters, and write death messages that say, Nuli will crush you. His name has become synonymous with fear inside the platform. Noli is the story of how emptiness becomes a god, how a technical bug transforms into a religion, how human imagination can take nothing, literally nothing, an empty profile without a single byte of data, and turn it into something that keeps you awake at night. But what if the threat comes not from a ghost-like glitch in the system, but from real people? What if the apocalypse that Noli's cultists kept preaching about actually arrived one day? Only it was not caused by the wrath of a god from the void, but by the ambitions of a few players who found the key to the very heart of the platform. From mystical temples in the clouds and legends of a destroyer, we move to April 1st, 2012. The day fear stopped being a theory on a forum and became reality for everyone who pressed the login button. And by the way, subscribe to the channel. That way I'll know you enjoy videos like this, and I'll make them more often. In front of you now is the third card, Hacker Ellernate. Picture this. It's 2012, April 1st. After a long day of pranks and jokes, you sit down at your favorite game, Roblox. You turn on your computer, open your browser, type in the familiar address, and see something strange. The banners at the top of the site are displaying nonsensical text. The prices of items in the catalog look unbelievably low. The forums are in complete chaos. And then it slowly sinks in. This is not an April Fool's prank. The entire site has been hacked. This infamous incident has been preserved in hundreds of videos and is still discussed in the community to this day. But far from everyone knows who was actually behind it, exactly how it was pulled off, and how the story ended for each of the people involved. To understand how any of this was possible, you need to take a step back and talk about Roblox's infrastructure in 2012. At that time, Roblox had what were called test sites, internal platforms where developers tested new content and new features before rolling them out to the main site. One of them had the unremarkable name Site Test 3. It sounds harmless. In reality, it was a gaping hole in the security of the entire platform. The problem was that the authentication system on the test sites was poorly implemented. In practice, to log in there under the name of any Roblox administrator, you did not need a password, two-factor authentication, or anything else. All you needed to know was the account name itself. For a platform used by millions of children and teenagers, this was a staggering oversight. And this was exactly the vulnerability that a player named Ellernate found. Not much is known about him, as is often the case with people who prefer to operate from the shadows. But what he did on April 1st, 2012, permanently inscribed his name into the history of Roblox. By logging into Site Test 3 under the name of one of the platform's administrators, he obtained exactly what he had come for, an administrative cookie. If you are not familiar with what that is, a cookie is a small piece of data that a website stores in your browser to remember you between sessions. When you visit a site and it does not ask you to enter your password again, that is a cookie doing its job. As far as the website is concerned, the cookie is you. Ellernate took that admin cookie and used it to log into the main Roblox site. The platform naturally suspected nothing. From its perspective, a genuine administrator with full privileges had just logged in. And so, Ellernate found himself at the controls of the entire site. The first thing he did was what any self-respecting person does when handed unlimited power. He called his friends. Admin rights were given to two others, Caleb244 and iTrap, and this is where things get really interesting. Each member of the trio acted differently, and the contrast between their approaches says a great deal. Ellernate chose the path of public chaos. He began altering the banners at the top of the site, making them display random text. For most players, this was the first warning sign. Something was clearly wrong when Roblox's official banners suddenly started saying strange things. Caleb244 chose a different approach. He went straight to the Roblox forums and began posting inappropriate content there. In 2012, the forums were the living heart of the community, the place where players communicated, shared content, and talked about games. Turning them into a mess was a quick and effective way to inflict maximum reputational damage. But the one who went the furthest, significantly further than anyone else, was iTrap. From the very beginning, he was playing a different game entirely. While Ellernate was having fun with banners and Caleb was attacking the forums, iTrap was systematically destroying the thing that held real value for players, the Roblox economy. To start with, the trio lowered the prices of accessories in the catalog and released their own items for 1 Robux each. Among them was the legendary item C-Face, a face with a deeply unsettling expression, which the hackers also added to the inventory of a user called Stickmaster Loop. That particular detail later gave rise to an entire layer of creepypasta and conspiracy theories. What was the connection between Stickmaster Loop and the hackers? Was he involved in any way? But that was only the beginning. iTrap started literally handing out hundreds of thousands of Robux to random players. By 2012 standards, these were astronomical sums. Robux were far more valuable back then, and a balance of several 100,000 units of currency turned an ordinary player into an instant millionaire overnight. The value of rare, limited items collapsed, and collections built up over years became worthless within hours. The situation spiraled so far out of control that Ellernate himself ordered iTrap to stop. That fact alone speaks louder than anything about the scale of what was happening. The person who had just hacked one of the largest gaming websites in the world found his own accomplices' actions excessive. The chaos the trio was spreading touched many players, some against their will, and others perhaps to their genuine delight. Qman1245 was among those who received a large number of expensive items from the hackers. The joy was short-lived. His account was later banned along with all the illegally obtained property. Mr. Rowe played the situation much more cleverly. He managed not only to receive Robux, but to successfully trade them away. Various estimates put the sum somewhere between 100,000 and 350,000 Robux. What happened to those funds remains an open question, but the fact itself shows that some players understood perfectly well what was going on and made the most of the moment as efficiently as possible. Roblox was forced to have a serious conversation with itself. All three hackers were immediately and permanently banned. The economy slowly began to recover. The effects on the limited items market were felt for a long time afterward. But the most important outcome of the incident was a complete overhaul of the security systems. The test site vulnerability was patched. Authentication policies were entirely rethought. The story seemed to be over, but for one of its participants, it was only just beginning. After his ban, iTrap did not disappear. He reflected on what had happened, drew his conclusions, and decided to build his own Roblox clone. The game was called Brick Planet. On the surface, it looked like a typical indie project with big ambitions. But the project began to grow in audience. YouTubers, drawn by the scandalous reputation of its creator and curiosity about Roblox alternatives, started making videos about it. Viewers followed. People signed up, played, and, importantly, spent real money. And then iTrap shut the game down. Just like that. The money, however, did not go anywhere. It stayed with him. If you think that is the end of the story, you do not know iTrap. On Halloween, he reopened Brick Planet. People spent money again. And again, the game shut down. In 2019, the whole thing happened a third and final time. Opening, players spending money, and then closure. The ending of this story is unexpectedly honest. In the end, iTrap did return the money to everyone who had spent it. His reasons for doing so remain his personal secret, but the fact stands. The April 2012 hack is more than just a story about three teenagers with too much free time and not enough common sense. It is a story about how one unpatched vulnerability can bring down an entire economy. About how easily power turns people into destroyers, and about how in the internet age, consequences never truly disappear. They just wait for their moment. The story of Ellernate and his crew is a classic example of how enormous power in the hands of a few can lead to chaos and destruction. They went down in history as the people who threatened the stability of the entire platform, for fun, for reputation, or for personal gain. But in the digital world, not everything is painted black. If Ellernate and his friends were the embodiment of a destructive force, then our next character became its direct opposite. He possessed virtually the same skills, the same knowledge, and the same ability to bypass security systems, but he chose a completely different path. Where others saw opportunity for collapse and profit, he saw a need for protection. From hackers who broke the world of Roblox, we move to the man who tried to save it. This is the final fourth card, the player known as Inkamu. On August 9th, 2022, an account named Inkamu appeared on Roblox, and its arrival instantly stirred the entire community. Forums buzzed, YouTube videos began racking up hundreds of thousands of views, and the comment sections erupted in debate. Who was he? Where did he come from? And why was Roblox itself hunting him down? But if you dig deeper into old profile pages, forum archives, and testimonies from those who claim to have encountered him personally, something interesting emerges. He first came to Roblox back in 2014 or 2015, long before anyone was talking about him. That means he had been quietly observing the platform for nearly 10 years before stepping into the light. His avatar was as simple as they come, an ordinary bacon hair character with no accessories whatsoever, no rare items, no unsettling details, no dark aura, nothing extra, just the most basic smile. And somehow that minimalism only made him more enigmatic. Think about it. Most Roblox hackers love to stand out. Scary masks, black robes, terrifying avatars. They want to be feared. They want to be noticed. Inkamu deliberately looked like the most ordinary beginner imaginable. He could have walked right past you in any game, and you would never have guessed that standing next to you was the very person being hunted by hundreds of hackers. Though there were other rumors too. Some players reported that at certain moments, especially when he was close to being exposed, Inkamu's appearance would change. A disturbing black smile would appear. His hands would turn dark red, and his movements would become unnatural, as though behind the mask of an ordinary player, there was something else entirely. Whether that is truth or legend, nobody knows, but there were many such witnesses. He was given a special title, White Hat Hacker. In the world of cybersecurity, that is an established term. It refers to specialists who possess the same skills as regular hackers, but use them for good. They find vulnerabilities in systems and report them to the owners without causing any harm. But Inkamu had one more distinctive quality. According to numerous accounts, there was more than one person behind the account. A genuine group of like-minded individuals operating under a shared name. Something like a secret brotherhood united by a single idea, to protect those who could not protect themselves. One account, many people, one goal. This is precisely why Inkamu seemed to be everywhere at once. He could appear in different games at the same time, react to threats faster than the official moderation team ever could. Inkamu's activities are shrouded in mystery, but that is exactly what makes his figure so compelling. According to rumor, he disclosed Roblox system vulnerabilities privately. He found security holes in the platform and quietly informed the developers, without using them against players, without selling the information to other hackers. No public announcement, no blackmail, just work done in the shadows, asking for nothing in return. That alone sounds incredible when you consider that some vulnerabilities in platforms like this are worth thousands of dollars on the black market. Inkamu could have made a fortune. He chose not to. Some claim he was active during the era of hacker groups like 1x1x1x1 and Team Cool Kid. Some of the darkest and most chaotic periods in Roblox history, when servers were crashing, accounts were being hacked en masse, and the platform's administration was struggling to cope with the flood of threats. And what is especially well documented in the community are his direct in-game actions. Inkamu personally banned rule breakers. Over 700 accounts are credited to him. Think about that number, 700 people, handled by hand, without any official permission from the administration, simply because he believed it was the right thing to do. And it was during this time that he said the words that have since become iconic. "It's okay if they ban me. What matters is that I protected the Roblox community." He knew what he was risking, and he pushed forward anyway. In the end, Inkamu's account was indeed banned, without any official explanation from Roblox. One day, the account simply ceased to exist. But he did not give up. New accounts soon appeared. Inkamu 1, Inkamu 2, and others harder to trace. He kept going, again and again. However, this is where the central paradox of his story emerges. Roblox saw all of this in a completely different way. For the platform's algorithms and administration, Inkamu was still a hacker, someone who broke into security systems, who gained access to features no ordinary user was supposed to have, who operated in violation of the official rules. Intent was irrelevant. Rules were broken, therefore ban. That is one of the most painful lessons his story teaches. The system does not distinguish between why you break the rules. Only the fact of the violation matters. This is exactly why Inkamu ended up in a trap. The more actively he defended the platform, the faster the platform got rid of him. In the end, all of his accounts were permanently banned, and Inkamu vanished. Since then, nobody has officially heard anything from him. What is particularly striking is that Roblox never acknowledged his role in protecting the platform. Despite reportedly preventing hundreds of attacks, closing critical vulnerabilities, and banning hundreds of dangerous users, the company never publicly mentioned his name in a positive light. Some see something suspicious in that silence. If Inkamu were simply a fictional character or an ordinary rule breaker, why go to such lengths to ban every single one of his accounts? Why react so quickly and consistently? Maybe Roblox knew perfectly well who Inkamu was, and chose to stay silent for exactly that reason. A hero without a reward. A protector without recognition. A person the system destroyed for trying to save it. Rumors say Inkamu never truly went away, that he still exists somewhere inside Roblox, but under a different name, hiding his identity so carefully that even the most attentive members of the community cannot identify him. A simple avatar, normal behavior, no traces. And whenever a well-known exploiter suddenly disappears from a server, someone always types in the chat, "It was him." His name keeps appearing in YouTube videos and on forums as the legend of a protector rejected by the system, but never forgotten by the community. The story of Inkamu is the story of a choice. He had skills that could have been used for destruction. He could have sold vulnerabilities, could have hacked accounts, could have become one of those hackers people are afraid of. But he chose a different path. He became a guardian in a place where protection was in short supply, and kept moving forward even knowing he would be punished for it. So here is the question. If he is still somewhere in Roblox, What name is he hiding behind? Maybe you have already crossed paths with him and simply did not know it. Now hurry up and click to watch my video about the strangest accounts in Roblox. Click fast before it disappears.